Miya and Kayla had been best friends since high school. Adventurous to a fault, they loved to explore, to push boundaries, and to find excitement in the mundane. So when Kayla suggested they sneak out to Pine Ridge Hill, an abandoned overlook on the outskirts of town, to share a joint and catch the breathtaking view, Miya couldn't say no. The hill was notorious for its eerie legends, but that only added to the allure. By the time they reached the summit, the night sky was a velvet canvas of stars, the lights from the town below twinkling faintly in the distance. The air was cool and crisp, carrying with it the scent of pine and damp earth. They settled on a mossy rock near the edge, the hilltop cloaked in shadows. "This place is kind of creepy, don't you think?" Miya asked, glancing around. The trees loomed like skeletal sentinels, their branches clawing at the sky. Kayla laughed, pulling out the joint from her jacket pocket. "It's just a hill, Miya. Don't let your imagination run wild." Miya rolled her eyes, but couldn't shake the unease prickling her skin. Still, she watched as Kayla lit the joint, the flame briefly illuminating her face, and took a puff before passing it over. Miya hesitated, but eventually inhaled, the earthy taste settling in her lungs. The world around them began to soften, the stars above blurring into streaks of light. They laughed as the high kicked in, their giggles echoing into the vast darkness. "Okay," Kayla said, exhaling a puff of smoke. "What if this place is haunted? Like, really haunted? What would you do if a ghost just appeared?" "Easy," Miya replied, smirking. "I'd offer it a hit. Maybe it just needs to chill." They burst into laughter, the sound carrying through the trees. But then, from somewhere behind them, a twig snapped. Miya froze, her heart thudding in her chest. "Did you hear that?" "It's probably a raccoon or something," Kayla said, waving it off. But her voice lacked conviction. Another snap. This time closer. Both girls turned toward the dense tree line. The shadows seemed deeper now, darker, almost alive. A faint rustling followed, and then silence. Kayla forced a laugh. "Okay, if this is some prank, it's not funny." Miya stood, gripping Kayla's arm. "Let's go. I don't like this." Before Kayla could reply, a figure emerged from the shadows. Tall and impossibly thin, its limbs bent at unnatural angles. Its face, or what should have been its face, was featureless, smooth, and pale like wax. It didn't move, didn't make a sound. It just stood there, watching. "Oh my God," Miya whispered, her voice trembling. "Kayla, what is that?" "I don't know," Kayla replied, her voice barely audible. "Run!" They bolted, stumbling down the uneven trail. The high distorted everything. The trees seemed to shift and sway, their gnarled branches reaching out like claws. The ground felt unsteady beneath their feet, the world spinning in a surreal blur. Behind them, the figure moved, not running, but gliding, its limbs jerking unnaturally as it followed. "Kayla!" Miya screamed, her lungs burning as she pushed forward. "It's getting closer!" "I'm trying," Kayla shouted back, her voice breaking. The trail twisted, leading them into a small clearing. They stopped, gasping for breath, but their relief was short-lived. The figure was there, standing at the edge of the clearing, its head tilting slowly to one side, as though studying them. "Stay back!" Kayla screamed, grabbing a rock from the ground and hurling it at the figure. It hit its torso with a dull thud, but the creature didn't flinch. Instead, it stepped forward, its long, spindly fingers twitching. Miya grabbed Kayla's arm. "We can't fight it. We have to go." The trail led them to the edge of the hill, where a rusted metal fence marked the boundary. Beyond it was a steep drop into the forest below. Trapped, they turned to face the figure. It was closer now, its blank face mere feet away. And then it stopped. For a moment, silence enveloped them, the world holding its breath. The figure raised one hand, pointing a long, bony finger toward them. And then, as if on command, the shadows around it began to move, stretching, writhing, and reaching toward the girls. Kayla screamed, grabbing Miya's hand. "We have to jump!" "Are you insane?" Miya shouted, but the shadows were closing in, cold and oppressive. The figure stepped closer, its faceless head tilting once more. "Trust me," Kayla said, pulling Miya toward the fence. They climbed over and jumped, the air rushing past them as they tumbled down the hillside. Branches scratched at their skin, rocks bruised their limbs, but they didn't stop. When they finally hit the bottom, they scrambled to their feet and kept running until they reached the main road. They collapsed under a street lamp, gasping for air, their bodies shaking. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Miya broke the silence. "What was that?" "I don't know," Kayla said, staring at the dark outline of the high,